All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Buffering Podcast. Today, I'm joined alongside Christian from Erickson Films, my co host. And also today, we have a special guest. We have Michael from MRD Shorts. Michael, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, or at least as good as I can be.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us, Michael. I thought we'd just kind of start the discussion by going off what you're studying in college, which, from my understanding, is film. I remember you made a video
Yes.
about this on your channel recently about your goals with that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of interested to hear your perspective about like what you want to do with that and like how YouTube kind of comes into that.
I um I really want to go into screenwriting and directing. Those are like the main two things that I want to do. Possibly some acting, though I know I'm not talented in that field.
I would
But
disagree. I think your stuff is good that I've seen.
thank you. um, but yeah, so like that's kind of where I want to go with it. But until then, I'm just kind of making stuff on YouTube, and I kind of also I want to have some type of following for sketch comedy. I think I want to make the serious stuff, but then at the same time, I want to have that backup or that back like additional stuff of just fun sketch comedy.
I like it. That's awesome.
So I guess kind of going into that. You're in school studying. You're going to be studying film, but you had mentioned to us before the show how like right now you're doing a lot of just like classes that don't really necessarily relate to your passion. So what's that kind of like? It's like you're kind of in school, you're not really doing what you're there for, and it's you're so busy and it's kind of hard for you to make YouTube. Do you feel like kind of, I don't know if lost is the right word, but you know just kind of like there's some kind of struggle there?
It's kind of like I'm trying to balance everything where like I've got classes and all that, and recently it's been better because they're not in person.
Mm.
But before I had the in person classes and all that, and so kind of trying to balance those classes with making stuff creatively. It was difficult, like figuring out what rhythm to go with for that. And I don't think I ever. I guess the last few weeks before you know Corona, I started to figure it out. But before that, it was like just how do I make stuff? Like it was like I suddenly just forgot how to make a video.
Do you see YouTube as a place you would like to have a long-term kind of career?
I I would definitely be interested in it. Like if it happened, I've always like I started out on YouTube with gaming years ago, and so like before I was like very into it, like wanting to get a following for that, and then I kind of switched over to sketch comedy, and I was like, okay, I want to continue building an audience here, um, and so it just kind of like I want to move beyond YouTube as well, but I also I probably always am going to want to stay on YouTube at some level.
Awesome.
So I guess kind of right now, obviously, with you kind of alluded to it prior. Right now, there's probably a lot of downtime. Even though you're still doing online classes, there's still, I mean, we still have a lot of time to just kind of do whatever. And I've noticed obviously on your channel right now you're very active. You have like series kind of going on right now. So would you, well, first off, kind of talk a little bit about those series that you're doing, and if anything has this whole quarantine thing like just kind of motivated you to just get back into the groove of things.
My big thing when this first started, I was like, okay, I need something to do. Like I've got all this time, I've got all these things that I want to do. I just need to do it. And so like I started a series. I originally called it the COVID log,
Hmm.
and then I ended up changing it because YouTube was demonetizing for that, so it was just Covlog. But it was like a series of, I think it ended up being 7 videos. Just each day I'd make a video of some type, ending it with a like 15-minute sketch comedy. compilation type thing. And so it was like, okay, every day I am going to do something at least. Uh, and since then, it isn't as consistent because online classes started back up. But it's still like, I feel like I have all this time. I need to at least do something with it, something creatively. So it's definitely boosted the amount that I've done, and I hope to stick to it even after it's done. We'll see.
I think that's really key right now, like during a time like this, to be busy with something good. Um, I feel like the only reason I haven't gone totally crazy is like the fact that I've been really consistently following a routine. I like that though. I think that like that idea that there was a time before this where all of us had these ideas in our head and we're just like, I don't have any time. And now it's like, unless you're someone who's an essential worker, there is no excuse left to say I have no like what seriously, this like people have like blocks of hours and hours a week that they could do things they want with. And I just hope that more people who do have those aspirations are able to utilize this time for that, because it's amazing what could come out of it. Like that's why Eric and I are doing this podcast. Like we wouldn't have done this otherwise, I don't think.
Probably not. No.
I was kind of trying to like it obviously it didn't end up getting all that big, but I was trying to have some type of movement for a while where I still need to make the video because there were some people who made stuff for it. But basically I had this idea. I posted a video recently called Stay Home and Make Something. And it was basically talking about the idea of, okay, anyone following me, just make something over the next month, send it to me on this Twitter account that I made for this. And then from there, I'm going to make a compilation of what you've made. And so I didn't get a ton of people to enter it, but it was like, okay, here's your goal for the next month. Just go for it. And I did the same thing. I didn't finish my project fully because it's a lot. As soon as I realized, like, my plan was to make a feature-length movie out of a series that I used to post on my channel, and I was like, okay, this is going to work. And then once classes started back up, it's like, no, I can't do that much. But like that was kind of the goal for me, like just give people an opportunity to make something. And for me now, it's like, might as well continue. We're still stuck at home.
I guess kind of switching gears a little bit, I guess. So kind of a little bit going back to the college thing, because I'm kind of interested about this. You obviously, like in high school and stuff like that, you kind of have, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of have like a group of people who you work with, whether it be like friends, like who you can cast as your actors, you know, stuff like that. When you go to college, is that like, how is that? Like, I imagine it's a lot harder to like find people to like cast and kind of, you know, be in your stuff, if you get where I'm going at with that. So
it's interesting because like where I'm from, I kind of had a group that would consistently help me out. And like I for my senior project for high school, I did a big short film that was like 30 minutes long.
Wow.
I had a bunch of people get involved in that from my school, a bunch of people just from the community. So I had a general group here, and then I was very worried going off to college that, okay, now I'm not going to be able to do that. But like almost immediately, I found people who were like, hey, I want to be in a video if you need me for something. And sadly, I lost connection with a lot of those people. Like during the first semester, I just really was, like I said, not motivated. But like I still do have a lot of people who it's like, yeah, whenever you have an idea, just get in touch with me. I'm interested in it. Like my roommate recently helped me out with a video. Like right before moving off campus, he helped me out with something, and it was like one of my favorite videos that I've done in a while. I had a bunch of people send me like Snapchat videos for something else, a lot of them being from my college.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was really surprised by how much more I felt like I had a group than I did in high school, because I had a group, but it's like now it's a lot more people who have the same interests and everything.
That seems to
Is
be
that because you're like, oh, go ahead, Christian. I don't want
well,
to
that
cut
seems
you
to be
off.
something that you and Eric have in common, that like since you guys are both creating content in college that the people around you are participating in. I think that's really awesome, and it's, as someone who's also in college, it's something I want to start doing more, because I think a lot of people are very excited by the idea of being able to be part of a YouTube project, even if it's relatively small. And also, you
Yeah.
just make a lot of new friends in the process.
Oh, if
Yeah.
I, so many people like want to be, the moment they hear about my channel, they want to be in something. And it's not like they're really going to gain anything out of it. It's not like I have a giant following or anything. But it's like people want to be in this because they're just like fascinated by the idea. So that's really cool. And I think obviously when you go back to take advantage of people who are, because I don't know how often you're going to get that, people who are willing to be in stuff for free.
Yeah.
I mean, and so would you say, like, for you, like, are you surrounding yourself by a lot of like-minded people, like people going into the film thing, or
I'm trying to.
okay,
Like I've got a lot of people who like I've been in contact with a bunch of people who like have different projects that they want to start working on throughout the next few years. Stuff that I have pitched to them that they're like, okay, yeah, I want to make this. I've got like a decent group of people who I have talked to who like I wrote a script in high school. I was like, okay, I really want to make this, and then now but I was like I don't have the equipment or the people, and now it's like, okay, these people all have the equipment and they're all interested. We could actually do this hypothetically. um, so like I'm trying to get as many people from like the film group as possible, which my college makes it really easy because like everyone has to take the same entry level course,
yep.
and then it's pretty much just from there everyone's in the same groups all the way through. So like right now I'm in class with people who I'm going to constantly be in class with again, which is nice to like go ahead and start making those connections.
For sure, dude. That's awesome.
My advice to you also, I mean, I'm sure you're already kind of aware of this, but it's like, yeah, try to build those connections as like, you know, when you can, because as you said, you are literally going to see these, because I'm already experiencing this with my major, especially if you're going into a smaller major. I don't imagine film is that big. I could be very
Yeah,
wrong, but
it's
normally
relatively small.
yeah, normally like those kind of communication level things, they're not like these big things. They're kind of surrounded by the same people. So what I'm trying to say is just don't like, uh, start fights and have everyone
Yeah.
alienate you. So, but you seem to be on the right track with that. So like right now, you kind of you had those resources, but like I don't know, what would you say maybe one of the reasons? I mean, what were the reasons for being demotivated? Because you had these people willing to participate, you know?
The thing is, like, out of out of those people, I really like I had all of these people who were like really interested, and then I don't know why, but
Yeah,
I for like that first semester, I chose to be more with the people who weren't interested in the same things, less motivated people. And it's like, okay, I just want to dig myself into the ground apparently.
yeah,
uh, but like, so as a result, it was just like, I still had interactions with people where it was like, okay, now this is something that's at least somewhat creatively motivated. But like especially after the first semester was when I started to pick up and be like, okay, these are the people that I need to hang out with. I just need to correct my wrongs. Plus, also on top of that, I I had a lot of I had a lot of situations. My first semester was very eventful roommate wise.
uh-oh.
I had some major issues there that I'll choose not to go into in depth.
Understandable. Yeah.
But it's like, having to get a roommate out that wasn't removed as soon as the issue occurred. So like I had a month there where it was like, okay, I need to just kind of stay in my part of the dorm. and avoid him.
Which is hard to do because that's like you have a small room, right?
Well,
Like
the way that mine was set up, I was lucky because if I had been like in a situation where he was on one side of the room and then I was on the other side of the
yeah, that's
room,
what mine
that would have
was.
that would have been bad. I probably would have wanted to sleep in someone else's room for a while. Um,
Wow.
but like the way that we had it set up, it was a 4-person apartment
Oh,
kind of
gotcha.
setup, and so like each of us had our own room, which was nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I just
okay.
like had to share a bathroom with him, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So like that first couple, I mean, I remember going back to my freshman year, the first couple months I didn't do any YouTube videos because I was just trying to just get adjusted to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you kind of relate to that similarly because college is like it's completely different than high school, and I didn't really
Absolutely.
think how different, but there is a huge difference. And on top of
Yeah.
that, I was going into a school I knew no one going into it. I was like 10 hours away from home by car. So it's like I knew no one. So I was taking those first few months to just kind of like, try to adjust to everything. And then, I tried to get back in the groove of creating things. And so I don't know, was that like a big thing too? It's like, you're just, to me, what you're describing is like you're just constantly met with like, okay, you have to adjust to living to a new place. Now you have like this situation going on.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of surrounding yourself with like people who aren't motivated. So that seems like, I don't know, for lack of a better words, that kind of seems like it would just be really draining.
Yeah. And plus, like, my first semester, it's North Carolina, so there has to be a hurricane.
Oh no.
So, like, we were out of school for a week there, and actually, that was one of the moments, like, looking back, where I'm like, why didn't I build off of that? Because I ended up I made a video not this past year, but the year before for Hurricane Florence. I made a video titled "Michael versus Hurricane Florence," and it was me and my friend Wes, who has been in so many videos. He's so great in them. But basically, the idea was the two of us just went around my house. This was like probably less than 24 hours before the hurricane actually hit. We we got together and we made a video about me just like dissolving into madness over this hurricane, freaking
Wow.
out about it. It like starts out and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be fine, and then by the end of it, I'm like, we just like kept on going with like me slowly getting more and more like rain protective gear and stuff like that. But basically, by the end of it, uh, like that, I was very proud of that video. So then this year, when the I don't remember what hurricane it was that hit, but whichever one it was, I re-uploaded that video on Instagram, and I had a bunch of people from my college like, "Yo, this is really cool," and I was like, "Huh." Like I didn't expect that reaction,
Yep.
and so like looking back, it's like, why didn't I not just like build from there? Uh, but yeah, just everything in that area, like I guess everything that was going on around that, just kind of demotivated me, and so it was like, okay, I had this little boost, but I'm still at like the neutral level because of everything else. Um, I don't know if any of that made sense.
No, yeah, no, it totally did.
It did.
So in your case, when you were talking to people at your school about the channel, like how did you sort of segue into that? Like, because I feel like it's sort of a difficult thing to talk about with people. Like at least for me, like I've never really
Yep.
found a natural way to bring it up, and I'm always afraid of like wanting, like I don't know, like seeming a certain way, I guess. But like I'm curious to hear how you deal with that.
What I figured out is you just don't talk about it, and then like let them figure out about it is what I've kind of found. Like I won't talk to someone individually really, but if I like post something on my story or something like that relating to a video, they might check it out and they'll be like, oh hey, that's really cool. And then from there it's like, okay, now I can make this connection now and be like, yeah, this is what I do on the side that I've been keeping secret from you. So like that's just recently, you mentioned the goal video. That was an introduction for a lot of people who I just recently started to become closer friends with. That was like their first interaction with it, and I got a bunch of messages on Snapchat saying, "Hey, that was really cool," and I was like, "Okay, now I can talk to you about this."
That's okay. I see what you mean. No, that's really cool. I think that's a like very it's a good way to approach it. As someone who like deleted all my social media recently, it's a little more difficult for me, I guess, to do it that way. But I think that idea though that people like have the interest and then they talk to you about it versus like advertising it to people, which it's like when I was younger, I remember like I used to like post videos of mine into group chats with friends and stuff, and realizing like a lot of people don't want that. And I wasn't always aware of that, just like I was so excited to share what I had done. But like, I guess learning to navigate that is an important part of creating content, realizing like not everyone wants to know, but then some people really do.
Yeah, and I mean like the thing for me is like I still advertise it, but it's more like I'll post something on my story or something like that, and just kind of leave it there.
Hmm.
Like I won't send messages to people and be like, "Hey, this is what I made."
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I never really did that. Now that I look back at it, because I remember one of the first videos that people actually found out about of mine. I had no clue that anyone knew what my YouTube channel was, and I posted a video back in like 8th grade, and it was me singing "Let It Go" on Karaoke Party.
Oh no.
But like the joke behind it was the fact that the mic wouldn't pick up my voice unless I sang it like really high pitched, and
Oh.
so like it was really bad. And so I walk into school the next day, and we had like little advisory groups at the time.
Yep.
And so like at lunch, I walk in there, and my friend Jacob, he just he just says, "Michael, I saw the video," and I'm like, "Oh God, please no." And then like throughout that entire day, I think that there were at least 3 classes that I had to watch that video in.
Wow.
Because
Oh my
like my classmates just kept talking about it.
I think
I
all
feel
three of us
yeah.
have had that experience of watching one of our
Everyone.
videos in front of the class.
Yep. Yep. It's the word, and I don't know. I feel like, not trying to brag, but I would say I probably dealt with it the most. Because I mean, as you were saying, I kind of handle it the same way. Like I really related to what you said about, yeah, just put it on your story and then kind of like move on. Because that's honest. Like it literally started with me like putting a link. I didn't even. I just put a link in my bio to my channel. That's all I did. I didn't direct people to it. It was just that. And from there in middle school, like the next day, that was like the talk of the day for the middle
Yeah.
school. Then you go into high school. Moment one person figures out about it, everyone, like I would never, because I don't know. I mean, as much as I enjoy talking about it, but it's not something I'm gonna bring up to someone, because I don't know. Like I don't like to like, I don't know. It kind of feels like flexing to me, or like being like,
Yeah.
oh well, look at me. I don't know. If someone brings it up and they're interested, normally they'll just ask me how much money I make and move on. But sometimes they're actually interested in, like,
50 cents.
yeah, and I'll just be, and it's embarrassing. I'll be like, well, okay, well, last month I made like $5, and that's always all they're always interested in how much money you make, which I always thought was really fascinating. But kind of going into that, once you get into college, you'd be like, it's so weird because a lot of people, they'll watch it, and sometimes they won't even tell you that they watch it, and they'll just like,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
That's something even in high school actually I found that
yeah,
very weird. Like I in my senior year, I was having people come up to me and talk to me about it that I had no idea that they were watching any of my stuff. I was like, "Huh, that's kind of cool." Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I've been
It's
told,
weird when someone approaches you.
oh, yeah, and I've dealt with that in my college, especially because I put my college's name in my videos, and I did that just because I don't know what the thought process was like, okay, well, maybe I'll get a few extra views, but I wasn't expecting like it to actually reach people from my school, and then like, people will come up to you and they'll say stuff about it. But the thing that surprised me is that apparently there were like freshmen who are doing like watch parties to my videos, which was really odd. It was cool, but it's like they didn't. And someone told me, I think it was this year, sophomore year, I got invited to someone's place, and they were like, yeah, freshman year we used to watch your videos, and I'm like, I don't recognize any of you. None of you ever said anything. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe they're shy of how much of a celebrity I am. I don't know. But I will say, with the channel, it's a lot easier to meet new people. I don't know if you've realized this, but it's a lot easier for you to meet, because this year, once my channel was more established and people knew about it, I made so many friends off of it, because people will just like come up to you and they're interested, and then you're able to be friends with those people. So that definitely really helped me adjust to college, was people, befriending me because, and Christian and I have talked about it before, like befriending you because of the channel.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much the word has spread at your school yet. I don't know if you're
Not enough, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm terrified. Now that you've mentioned that, I'm terrified of the day that happens.
Really? It's pretty cool, actually.
I mean, it sounds cool, but at the same time, I'm kind of. For me, it's like I'm fine with people watching my videos. I just don't like being there when they're watching my videos.
Yeah.
Like it's it's weird to me whenever that comes up.
No, I do get that. Like in my like Spanish class like a year ago, the teacher on like the last day was like, show us your channel, and like wanted me to show everyone like 4 or 5 of my videos, and like I just remember how weird it felt. Like I was like sitting there, I'm like looking around, I'm like, we're all watching my videos, and like because of the content I make, some people were clearly not interested at all because it's like very technical stuff, but other people were like, oh wow, that's super cool. But then like getting to the point where it went on too long and I had to turn it off, and like seeing that like I'm like, oh god, but realizing that that's just par for the course, like it wasn't anything personal. People were supportive. It was just like some of them were like visibly through their faces, we've had enough.
Yeah. And did either of you have the same experience where it was like anytime that there was any type of video project, you were the one to do it?
Yep.
Yes. Every time 100%. Still. I edit videos for my college now, like for our site.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And that was because like I told them about the channel on my application for the job, because I
did the same thing. Well, just for my college application.
About
my YouTube channel.
But I work at the school too.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to do that either. Like my
counselor.
My school's Yeah,
she was like, you have to write about this. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, this is like something that not a lot. And I guess thinking about it, it's like the fact that we're doing, like all of us are doing this, and it's like, because a lot of people have hobbies, whether it be, not that there's anything wrong, but like playing video games or doing other stuff. And here we are, and you can still do those things and do YouTube too. But here we are like doing something and making something productive out of it. She was like, that's a big deal. And also like you're able, I think at that point I had like, 3, actually this was before my Logan Paul video, so I had like 2,000 subscribers. But she was like, oh well, you still have an audience, like this is a big deal. So I wrote about it, and then I was getting, like, I applied to several colleges, and they would like that they would write the people who would write back would like talk about it, and that was really weird. They were like, yeah, like can't wait for you to come to our school and make videos. And I was like, oh.
Dude, that's sick.
It was weird for me because like it was right around the same time. I don't know if either of you know about this, but I got a shout out on a live stream from Jack's Films.
Really? I did not know that. That's awesome, man. You have to tell a story now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically I had made a sketch. Like it was pretty much when I had like first started making sketch comedy. And so I made a sketch called How to Celebrate National Hot Dog Month. Just basically playing on the idea that National Hot Dog Month is ridiculous. It's a dumb holiday. But I did that, and then I was like, this is the type of thing that Jack would do. And I was watching his live stream. And so I donated bits, and I was like, hey, would you have any interest in like would you potentially give me feedback on this? And he said yes, shockingly. And it just throughout for a while during the rest of the stream, he was just like giving constructive criticism on my video, and finished it by saying, hey, go subscribe. So that happened, and then the next day I reposted everything from that, like that clip from Twitch, and just basically saying, hey, I thought if anyone else is doing sketch comedy, this information could be helpful to you as well. Uh, and then I very specifically remember I went out to mow the lawn afterwards, and I got back inside and I checked my phone and checked Twitter, and I had so many notifications on Twitter. And I found out the reason was Jack, I guess, had hunted down my Twitter and found the thing where I tweeted, "Hey, there's a new video," and retweeted that, saying, "Hey,
Wow.
this guy was watching the stream last night." And he did it so quickly too. I think because he subscribed to me. I think he recently unsubscribed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sad. But like he had subscribed at the time, so he got the notification when the video went up, and he must have just gone straight from there. But like he shouted me out again. I got like probably 200 subs that day alone. It was insane. But yeah, so that happened, and then like immediately following that, I had to write my college application. And so on a portion of that, I don't remember what section it was of the Common App, but there was some segment where my college counselor was like, "Okay, you need to mention the fact that this big YouTuber shouted you out." And I was like, "Really? That sounds ridiculous." I was like, "Okay," and because I was like, sorry. When that happened, like I was applying to Emerson at the time.
Oh, I applied there too.
Okay, I didn't finish the application. I didn't finish the second half. I was like, I did the Common App half, and then they said, "Hey, now you need to do the second half." And by that point, I'd gotten an email back from UNCW, and I was like, "Okay, I'll just go there." But Emerson, I ended up in my application, I had a connection to Alex Clark, if you know who that is.
No idea.
He's a animation channel.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had a connection to him, and he went to Emerson, so he's like, "Yeah, throw me in to that." And so I was like, "Okay, that one makes sense because he's like connected to the school." But then with Jack's films, I was like, "What?" Like it just sounded so weird to me to include a YouTuber on my college application.
Yeah, and I will say, I met Jack's film, and you actually met him, and I would like you to talk about that experience. But I want to get this comment in. But I met him in 2015. He's from like my area, like 20, 30 minutes away from me. And so I will say he's probably one of like the nicest like creators that I've ever met. And you can tell that he's very like passionate about like helping others. And because I had another friend who's actually gotten a shout out from him, not to discredit your shout out because it's still a very big deal that you got one, but he's very like, you know, open about kind of support, because I think he gets it. Like to me, he's just he gets it. Like he understands what people are going through because he went through the same thing. And like just couldn't be like a nicer dude. So when you meet the guy, does he like know who you are? And he's like,
it was interesting. Throughout the entirety of VidCon, I was wearing my own merch, which feels extremely cringy. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just follow through and act like there's nothing of it. So I was wearing like one of my hats, and so basically the whole situation there, the year before I had met the guy who's in charge of his merch company at VidCon, and so again I went by and I said hi to him this past year, and he like on the last day he was like, "Hey, come by here at like I think it was like 4 come by at like 4 o'clock. There's something you need to be here for." I was like, "Okay, can you tell me anything else?" And he's like, "If I tell you anything else, security won't let it happen." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, Jack's going to be here." And so I ended up getting there at the time. I walk up and I'm like, I don't know if you know who I am or if you like remember me at all. He's like, "Yeah, Mr." And he started to say Mr. D Shorts because like that was the mistake that he made on stream. And he's like, "No, MRD Shorts, sorry. What's up?" And so we started just talking from there. and it was like he remembered it almost immediately. Like as soon as I said, "Hey, I don't know if you know who I am," he was like, "Yeah, of course I know." And like Aaron was there as well. Like I
Yeah.
ended up talking to both of them, and they were just super nice. Like it was just like there were like 50 people in line behind me,
Mhm.
and I was like, should I keep moving? And they're just continuing to talk to me.
Wow.
It was really cool.
That's awesome, dude. And that's really like, I think to like meet someone who you admire like that, and then just have them like just really treat you like a human being and be like really kind
Yeah.
and interested it's a super meaningful experience, you know, like
Yeah.
I can't really think of like a more um impactful thing that could happen at VidCon, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, the thing there actually, it was interesting. Like looking back on it, uh, both of you know who Odd One's Out is, right?
I
Yeah.
don't actually.
Oh, he does
Okay.
like animation stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in the same field as Alex Clark. So it was interesting that like that summer was like the looking back, it was like a summer of Jack's films for me because it was like I was introduced to Odd Ones Out because he made a video about Jack's films, so I watched that. I was also introduced to Ben Folds, who is a
Oh,
fantastic musician
rocking
because
the
of Jack.
suburbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Over the Hedge, the
Yeah,
Over the
there
Hedge
you go.
soundtrack. Yeah, um, but so I was introduced to both of them because of Jack, and like right at the beginning of the summer, I went to a concert that was nearby for Ben Folds, and then at VidCon, like I said, I have that connection to Alex, and he was like, he randomly texted me one morning of VidCon, and he's like, "Hey, are you available today to come and help out with a live show?" And I
Whoa.
was like, "Okay." Um, and so like literally, he just picked me up from you know where the gas station is down the street from the convention center.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
like he just like we just waited for him. It was me and my friend Wes, because we were both there together. So like we just met up at the gas station. He just pulls up. We get in the car and then we just go to his live show that he was doing with Odd Ones Out. So like I met James there, and then like the next day Jack. So it was like everything kind of came full circle by the end
Wow.
of it, and it was like just really interesting, like all those connections that were made because of Jack.
Yeah. How I kind of share the similar, like I've met creators who I've, look up to before. I don't think I've ever had the experience where they actually watch my, actually I have, where like they actually watch your stuff afterwards or whatever, and or like stuff like that. And I know every time I talk to like a creator who I look up to or whatever, it's really motivating. So after you have that conversation with Jack's films, I just cannot imagine that you just don't go back and just like, I mean, does that
Yeah.
not like motivate you, or like it's like, okay, someone who I look up to uh had this really kind stuff to say, doesn't that just make you want to just like, you know never
Vid-
like only make videos and just never sleep? And I don't know.
Both years for VidCon, it had the same effect.
Yeah.
I know you were a fan of Jesse Ridgway, right, Eric?
I'm like uh
Like on and off at least.
I know, I'm aware. I saw him at
Yeah.
VidCon. I know his stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I talked to him there the first year,
Yeah.
and just like had a conversation with him about the Psycho series. And from there, I went back home and I was like, okay, because I had the series in mind because I don't know if you saw Boo Bear Does Stuff, the series that I did a while back.
I'm familiar.
Okay. It's basically for anyone watching, I just walk around in a Care Bear costume and that's about it.
Yeah.
But like basically, the idea behind that started with my high school chemistry teacher. He had the Care Bear costume and he's like, "Hey, you should make something with this." And I was like, "Okay." And we didn't really know what to do with it. So then I talked to Jesse and just like had a conversation with him, and like immediately after that it just clicked, and I was like, okay, I need to make this. I'm gonna fly through it. Made the entire first season, and then with this past year I ran into him again, and immediately it was like the same click of inspiration, where it's like just after you interact with someone who's that passionate about something, it's like, yeah, you're that passionate about it, and then it's just holding on to that same passion, continuing forward.
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel that, like, from being at VidCon as well, like having met people who, you know, created similar content, who were inspirations, people like Eric, who, like, we met there, and then we actually started hanging out at the event. Like, just like being around people who are doing the thing you're doing, which is very niche. Like I feel like making YouTube, like, in the grand scheme of like society, is very niche, you know. And like I think to meet people and like have them congregate in a giant place like VidCon, and like, were you at the water park when that happened with the Creator Pass? Eric knows what I'm talking about. The water park.
Yeah, there was like a Great Wolf Lodge creator party or something.
I didn't go to that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
was like my highlight, honestly, just because like it was just so fun to like be hanging out somewhere that's already fun, but then like with all these people, like that was just like probably one of the best nights of my life, honestly. Just how much that meant to me.
That's a bit of a stretch. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It was actually, I agree. That was a lot of fun because everyone shares the same interest, and everyone has something in common. Everyone's so easy to talk to, which is like, because like, you know, you have this thing in common, and you know, and you're also at a water park, and there's like a free food, and you know,
that was great. Free food. Yep.
Oh yeah, the free food, and then there was this water slide where like I don't know if you've ever been on these, but like the ground like drops underneath you.
Oh yeah.
I had never done one before, and I was terrified. But I was like, you know, I was in front of people. I don't know if you were there for that, Christian. If you
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I think we kind of separated there, but I was with another YouTuber who goes by the name of Waddle, who ended up hanging out with there.
Oh yeah, I remember him. I remember I was like, I don't want to embarrass myself in front of everyone, so I
have to look cool.
Yeah, exactly. And
for the clout.
Yeah, exactly. They got footage of it too. They like filmed you going down, and my face was just like, you know, I was terrified. I don't know, because they do the thing where they're like, they count you down, but then they don't drop it when they say they do.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I hate that. And I was like, they're like 3, 2, 1, and then it just stays there. And I'm like, guys, what are we doing? And then it just.
I know, that was just so scary. Yeah, that was amazing though. I'm glad I didn't want to do that, but like I was positively peer pressured by the friends there.
Yeah, by all the kind of people that you meet at those events. And that's why it sucks that an event like that isn't happening, because every year I go to those events, I always come out being like, well, first off, I make a lot of connections, which is big. If you go to these YouTube events, to anyone listening, you have to network yourself, and you have to just
talk to people.
Yeah, and I get like how sometimes it's like hard to like talk to people, but just understand at these events it's much easier, especially when you share this common interest. And like, if I hadn't talked to people, I wouldn't be doing this with Christian if I didn't, you know, network with him at an event. You know, we wouldn't be doing this if you hadn't talked to me after our creator chat that we had gone to. So it's like, just talk to people, really. But every time I come out of it, it's like, I'm like, man, I want to, you know, I'm so motivated. That's like my big motivation every year, because you see everyone trying to do the same thing, whether I know you're trying to get into like film and everything, but even growing the channel too, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like you see this stuff, and I'm sure, I don't know if you have a similar experience, but you come out of it and you're just like, man, I'm going to, you know, make series or do whatever. And not only from meeting the big creators, but it's the smaller creators too that motivate me, which I've always noticed. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Interestingly, you say like you need to talk to people. Yeah. My experience with that, like Ryan, who we talked a bit about. I don't know if we've talked about on the podcast yet, but Ryan's Productions on YouTube. He the first year that I was at VidCon, they did a Teen Titans Go to the Movies early screening, and so I went to that, and I was sitting there with Jack's Films merch on, and this guy walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, I like your hat." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. You're a Jack's Films fan." And we just started talking from there. That was Ryan. any other situation, that wouldn't have been at all like acceptable. Like it would have been weird if someone approached you like, oh yeah, that like merch, and then just started a conversation from there. Like you wouldn't, in a lot of cases, you wouldn't just approach someone and say, hey, I'm a fan of this YouTuber, are you? But in that environment, it's like, yeah, everyone's a creator, everyone wants to talk to people, everyone wants exposure, so just talk to anyone. And like, look at me and Ryan now. Like we made a bunch of videos together. Now I freaking hate his guts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like that is such a unique experience, and I think what you mentioned, what both you were mentioning in the beginning, of the importance of actually talking when you're there, because like my first year I went in 2018, I didn't really do that, and I ended up not having a very good time in general. Then like last year, just like, obviously, I mean, depending on your personality, like it's a little hard in the beginning to just like start talking to random people, but like once you get the momentum going, especially at a place like that, it's just so fun. It's so fun.
I think that the people kind of force you to, because like even like this past year I was there with Ryan and a few other people. Like all of us were there together, but there were still people on the outside of that group. Like I still remember very clearly my friend Wes, he was, we were walking along and he was just generally not in a great mood at the time. I don't remember what it was, but we were walking along, and this guy from the Truth booth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just comes up and he's like, random high five, and he high fives my friend. And he's just, as he's walking away, he's like, wow, that was epic. And it's just like, how can you not start talking to people after that? Like, you just have a situation there where it's like, okay, everyone just witnessed that. Might as well just talk about it.
Huh.
You know, because it's like just things that happen there where it's just people get so into the idea of just being in like the kind of influencer virus, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's you know, you're in a situation there where everyone wants to like get an audience. Everyone's trying to be very out there, and so as a result it kind of forces you to come out of your shell as well, I feel like. I don't know.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you hear the dog in the background barking.
It just adds to the realism, dude.
Yeah, it adds to the authenticity of this.
It's a quarantine podcast.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I guess it really should be buffering a quarantine podcast.
Maybe.
Will it end after quarantine?
Hopefully not.
We don't know yet.
We're going to see what happens. We're hoping to become the most famous podcast in the world. That's our goal. Yeah. Like, we want to have like 1 billion listeners.
The goal is to compete with Joe Rogan. So once we get like
dethrone him in a year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It keeps us occupied. It's a fun thing. We get to know people. Yeah. So.
Right. No, it's been super fun. Like, this is also the most like Eric and I have talked is like through this thing. Because like before that we would like message each other and we did a couple streams, but now it's like the hours of us talking together are adding up. So.
Yeah.
And then you talk to people like we hadn't really talked before this. I mean, Michael, like we tweet each other and that's kind of it. Twitter, and then occasionally we'll like message, but it's like, you know, it's stuff like this. It's like you get to know a person a lot better, and you know, just trying to keep those connections, because obviously there's no VidCon this year, so you still want to keep those relationships and try to.
We're gonna be hosting a Zoom call with hundreds of people. It's gonna be our own
we should do it.
Buffering VidCon, and we're actually gonna charge admission. It's gonna be $80. But I mean, I think people would enjoy it.
Like Eric
Moran Films, Erickson Films, and very recently MRD Shorts is going to be one of our featured guests.
This is the announcement that I will be the featured guest.
But it's actually an additional fee. Every YouTuber you talk to within the Zoom call, like they're locked until you pay $15 to start talking to them. But I feel like it could be like a meaningful thing for a lot of people.
This could be a big thing.
Like it's nonprofit. We need that money to operate the Zoom. Like, I don't think you realize how expensive it would be to have a Zoom call with that many people.
Not cheap.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right, let's see where we want to. We're kind of closing in on this. I'm trying to think if there's any kind of last things that we want to touch on. Actually, I have one. What is the? I guess this upcoming summer. What are is the plan to just like? I mean, right now you're in the groove. Is the
Yeah.
plan to just like kind of just continue with this and like trying to just stay creative, however you can?
That's the hope.
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, my summer is almost completely empty.
Yeah.
Like there was so much that was planned, like with VidCon, and I had other things that I was going to. Like I actually I had a Jack's Films live show that I was going to go to in Philly
Yeah.
at the end of this month, where that's been pushed back to January now. But there was like so much that I had planned, and now it's like, okay, all that's open. And so now, like, the only thing that might potentially be happening to interrupt content creation, yet it's also going to kind of help content creation, depending on how things go, I might still be going to Philly and fighting Ryan.
Nice.
But like aside from that, now that I think about it, we haven't announced that yet.
Uh-oh.
But
You heard
it's
it
my
first
video
here,
to
folks.
announce it anyway. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my video to announce it anyway. But like yeah, depending on if things work out, like I'll be doing a few collaborations for that, and then like beyond that, it's just make stuff. I was talking about making the feature film. I'm going to do that by the end of the summer. I refuse to make
Wow.
it beyond there and not make it.
How
It's
long
going
would
to
that be?
it's going to be like, by feature film, I mean at least 60 minutes. The goal is to have
Wow.
it be 75 though, at least.
That's awesome, dude. That's ambitious.
Yeah.
I respect that though. Like that's like you're not going to do something like that unless you push yourself to do it. Like anybody, I mean. So I think that's
And I mean, like, now is the perfect time to do it,
for
honestly.
sure. No, absolutely.
Because like, what else am I going to do? Yeah. Plus, like, the thing for me is like, I'm not going to make a feature film from scratch, and I know that. Like, knowing me, I don't, at this stage, I don't have the motivation to continue writing the same script for that long. So what I'm working on right now is like, it's basically taking stuff that I've already made and turning it into a feature film format, like different short videos, and expanding it into a full story. And so it's also just like, it's a fun little puzzle to do, is the way that I look at it.
Yeah. No,
Like,
that's awesome, man.
but yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing for the summer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps everything up. I thought that was a very interesting discussion, and I thought we definitely touched on a lot of things that I don't know. I didn't think we would touch on everything, but we really did. So, if you would like to check out and you don't have to. I mean, it's kind of whatever. No, I highly encourage
Please,
you
I'm
check
begging.
out. Oh my god. Yeah, I really encourage that you check out Michael. His channel will be linked. Whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it later, it'll be linked in the description of the YouTube video. So go check him out. If you want, subscribe. I mean, maybe they.
I don't expect it, honestly.
Yeah. At least give him a chance. Also, you can watch Christian stuff too if you want to. I don't know.
Probably not. Like, you're probably not gonna like it though.
Yeah.
It's not meant for most people.
Mine, I highly suggest you watch. Okay. But that's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you for letting me.
And I'll
Yeah.
see and yeah.
This marks the end of the recorded stream for those of you guys listening to the video that's been uploaded. But we're going to be answering questions now live. But anyway, guys, if you were listening to this video, thank you so much. Until next time.